While 80,000 thoughts will bombard you today, just one conversation can make you 1% better. If you walk around with your nose in the air, you're going to end up flat on your face. But if you're content to simply be yourself, you'll become more than yourself. Thanks for hanging with us today as we discuss what erodes and cultivates growth, making us 1% better. Welcome to 1% Better with Marc Lucas and Brandon Mouer.
Thank you so much again for tuning in to 1% Better. Brandon, it's been just amazing to be able to take this journey with you. Thank you, guys, the audience, for being with us here in this conversation. Again, the desire is that these shows would help all of us, Brandon and I, and you, the beautiful listening audience, really walk through a process of getting 1% better. And it might only be 1% better, 1% per week, 1% per month. But at the end of the day, our desire for us and for you is that we all would get 1% better. Show is all about growth, and it's all about looking at what's getting in the way or impeding growth, and then also what is cultivating growth within your life and within our lives. And one of the things that today we want to talk about is the reality is that negative realities, we're all going to face them to some degree every day. So we can normalize negative realities. However, this show today is about how do we process negative realities and how do we actually even grow through negative realities. So that's where we're headed today. Thanks so much. Buckle up. Here we go. It's going to be a fun show. Maybe just to kind of kick things off, Brandon, when you think negative realities, what comes to mind for you personally?
Yeah, I think a lot of the emotions of like disappointment, discouragement. I'm going to stop there because you said for me personally, those are, I mean, obviously there's more, but like those two, I'm 25, but I've lived through some discouragement, some disappointments, whether it's relationship stuff. I probably did that to myself when it comes to dating and stuff, but, discouragements and disappointments, like even just stuff with like my own music journey. I mean, obviously people know, maybe you don't know, but the industry, there's a lot of no's. There's more no's than yeses, which means there's a lot of disappointment and maybe discouragement in the music industry. And so I found myself with a lot of discouragement when I was younger, getting into that realm, that path of going down the music industry, and how I've been handling them and learning how to handle them and who can I talk to and who can relate and who do I talk to, and then they don't give me good stuff back and I'm like, oh yeah, never talk to that person again, whatever it might be. So those two for me, discouragement and disappointment, are probably the two biggest areas that I still need growth in, but that I probably have grown the most in.
Yeah, I mean, both of those as well. I was sharing with you before we started recording today on YouTube and radio and podcast that at the end of the day, I think just this last weekend, here we are. I mean, we're just through the weekend. It's Monday as we record this. I don't know when you'll be watching or listening to this, but it's Monday as we record it. And this weekend, I had this huge moment where I thought I would be so disappointed for my son who was trying out for a competitive hockey team. And we thought after 3 different moments of trying out, one on Friday night, 1 hour tryouts, and then 2 times on Saturday he tried out. So 3 hours of trying out. Then they told the players that we would get a call back Sunday morning. So my son comes like 6:30 in the morning. He's like, Dad, have they called? I'm like, first off, why are you up at 6:30? And secondly, no, they haven't called. It's 6:30 in the morning. But they told us that they would call back sometime in the morning on Sunday. And I'm just like chomping at the bit. Like 7 turns into 8, turns into 9 a.m., turns into 10 a.m. And like finally around like 2 o'clock, like I'm just so disappointed in the process. I'm disappointed that my son hasn't gotten a call yet. And then like, what do we do in those moments? Like we're going to have disappointments in those moments, disappointments in our job and relationships. Some people would even say disappointments is a whole book called Disappointment with God. So what do we do kind of in these moments where we have negative realities? And that's what this show is about today. So I'm going to share some practical things because it's such, and I say this a lot, but it's so true. It's such a Captain Obvious to say, you're going to have a negative reality today. Brandon, Marc, you are going to have a negative reality today. That's just a Captain Obvious statement. It might be a very small negative reality, like I didn't get the right position in line getting coffee this morning. Or it could be something big, like something really big happened today or tonight when you watch this and you're like, man, I've had a really, really tough. And like when I look at my emotions, I'm angry even, which is kind of even a deeper emotion than disappointment or discouragement. So wherever you might be in that spectrum, you're going to have disappointments. And then we ask ourselves, okay, what do we do now in those disappointments? And before we get even to the what we do, I think one of the things that's been really helpful for me, Brandon, is I just want to express and be able and be comfortable to express those emotions with people. So for me, it's expressing those emotions with God. And it's not like God's like talking to me, but I'm in a moment. Sometimes it's in prayer. Sometimes, and I am a guy and I journal, and that's okay. Guys can journal. But I write down what I'm feeling in that moment when I'm discouraged, disappointed, angry, frustrated, not feeling energized, blah, like whatever. There's 2,000 emotions. There's a lot of emotions we can feel. But I want to express that to God, and I encourage you, that's really healthy. Even if you're not walking in a personal relationship right now with God, and Brandon and I both do have personal relationships with God, wherever you might be, just be able to express that. Then also to be able to express that with your friends. Share a little bit about maybe why you also think that's so important.
Oh, I was actually going to go there, actually, to be honest with you, not because we talk about where we're going. Honestly, like I honestly was going to go there because I was like, we need to, like, because I think it was the second show, or the first show. Go watch them. You tell us which one we talked about this in. But
put it in the comments below on YouTube.
Remind us where we talked about this. It was one of the first two shows, and we talked about the core circle of guys or girls that you have to go to. I mean, everyone has their inner circle, then they have a little bit outer, and they're like acquaintances or just strangers, right? But the inner core, I was telling you guys a couple shows ago, I only have like a handful, literally a handful, because I think as you get older, you get less and less. Anyway, go watch that show and you'll know more of what we're talking about. But of being able, like you were saying, being able to express in authenticity and in vulnerability and in truthfulness, not trying to hide anything with those circle of friends, those core people, of sharing, hey, dude, like this sucked today, or this person did this today. And again, not turned into gossip, but just explaining your discouragement, explaining your disappointment. Because I think, and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a licensed counselor, so if this is wrong, then you can email me at brandonmouer.com. But I think that the biggest thing is, I don't think it's unhealthy to talk through discouragement. Maybe in that moment you'll get more discouraged, because I have before talking about it, but getting it out, and that goes with anything, any emotion you're feeling, but getting it out to somebody you can trust, maybe it is a therapist or a counselor, can then, that person, or just you talking about it, can help you get freedom in what you're going through. I know as you and I as pastors, we've pastored people in the way of just listening to them. And sometimes I don't even have to say anything, because people will just feel better getting it off their chest. And then we can then encourage and guide. But yeah, right where you were going, I was like, that's something we need to talk about more.
I love it. And just one thing that you shared, I just want to kind of bring back, because it's so important in this key detail. We're going to have obviously positive and negative emotions. And you'll have positive high energy and low energy, and high energy and low energy negative emotions. So in all of the 2,000, again, I don't even know a fraction of those. I couldn't say them right now, but there's about 2,000 emotions that we could identify in the English language, in any language really, and say, okay, we have to be able to express positive high energy, low energy, and negative high energy, low energy emotions. You just can't stuff, like I only show people happiness and joy and fulfillment and satisfaction and success. I only show people that. And yet the reality is, the world that we live in today, when you go to social media, when you go to a lot of even small talk that people have with each other, that's kind of the only card they play across the table. Like that's what they show It's like the highlight reels that we only show people, even in that inner circle of 5 or whatever the number is, that core circle. We have to be raw and real. Show them the positive, high energy, low energy emotions, and the negative, high energy, low energy. We've got to be real, because the world has this like false dichotomy that we just can't show people that we had a bad day. Like you can never do that on social media. What? You can never share that with somebody that you know and you're having dinner with, or you're having a drink with, or wherever you are. You just couldn't show that. Mm-hmm. And yet that's not going to help us get 1% better. So that's why we're talking about this today, because at the end of the day, the entire point and mission statement, the direction that we're headed every show, is about all of us on this journey of getting 1% better. So the first step is to be able to express the emotions that we're feeling, positive and negative, and to be able to do that in the context, we would say, in a relationship that we have with God. And even if you're just exploring that, there's places that you can go. One of the really cool places that I like, Brandon, is I go to a website that I love, and I'll give them a shout out right now because they've done great things, questions.org. And then there's a search bar that comes up. And in that search bar, let's say like when I was experiencing what I was experiencing with hockey this weekend with my son, I was frustrated. So I did not do this. I need to listen and hear my own words and then put them into action. But I should have gone and got questions and just typed in that search bar, frustration. And then all of these beautiful, not only Bible verses, which is beautiful, but Bible verses that are connected to real life stories of people, where I could read a few of those and learn how they processed and how they actually grew and got 1% better in a place of being frustrated.
So good. I love that. And you should have done that.
I should have.
So maybe watch this show when you're frustrated and be like, oh yeah, I need to go I was going to say, go to 1%bettershow.com. You can do that, but go to gotquestions.org. I think too, of what we're saying of like sharing with friends and sharing with pastors or leaders or counselors, wherever it might be. Again, we said this again on a few other shows previously, that we're all in work in progress, where we're all a work in progress. So it's a journey to get one. That's why, again, if the show's not called 100% better or you better be better by ... deadline. Like 1% better. We're all a work in progress. We're all on this journey called life. And whether, again, that's faith or finances or marriage or relationships or friendships or mortgages or the economics or whatever it might be, we're on this journey. And I think, I heard a pastor say this years ago because I grew up in church, but I think it's true today. And I feel like I don't want to be the first person to implement this on social media, but maybe I will, of why don't we post some negative bad days? Because then people can see the progress. Like nobody becomes an overnight success. We say that, oh, this person popped out of the blue, became a celebrity. Oh yeah, but go look at their history. I don't know them. Okay, get to know them or whatever, right? Like nobody just appears, right? Justin Bieber, who is somebody I adore and respect and admire, he seemed like he just popped up. Right? But if you look at what he's been through, the hustle that him and his manager, Scooter Braun, when he was 15, 16, before Madison Square Garden, he was at a talent show, right? You might know the story, but like there's so much more than just the talent show, Scooter Braun, his manager, discovering him, to then Madison Square Garden with his documentary. Like there's so much there, even vocally, that is not on camera to get his voice good, right? There's so much. So life provides that for you. Like you have people, you have resources, you have faith walks, people that can help you, that people can offer you resources that can help us all get 1% better. But don't get discouraged if you're trying to get better in XYZ area and you don't, or you have a horrible day or week or month or year in it. Because I think that's real. Right? Yeah. So I think if we posted, I'm not encouraging you to go do this, but if you posted more your flaws, your failures, your lessons on social media, it might be really weird, especially if you've never done that before, but I feel like it's valuable because you learn more in the process than you do the destination.
I think it's so good. And I think it comes back to when we look at getting 1% better, we have to know that all of us have to establish some core values. And as we establish, like, what are the guts inside of us that really make us who we want to become? Like, these are the things in the values and the character that I want to be getting better and growing. And I want to be proud, and I want my kids to be proud of me when I die, to say, Dad was this type of man, and here's the legacy that he left me. One of those words that I think we should all consider, not just because it's in my kind of bunch of core values, is authenticity. Because when we are authentic, the example, social media, I'm thinking I should post this week, instead of doing my word of encouragement where everything is up and everything is cheery, like I should share a segment of that frustration and that struggle and how I missed the mark with my son over the weekend. That should be a part of this week's word of encouragement, because at the end of the day, authenticity, when I am authentic with the people that I trust and the people that I know are in that circle, it opens them even more up to me, for them to lean in and actually want to get closer to me, because now they can trust me to share the things they're going through because I've modeled that, because you've modeled that. And as we model that, people will lean in and say, okay, you're open with your negative realities. You're open with what you're going through. And I'm like, this is great, because you know what? There's some stuff I've been stuffing inside of me for a long time that now I can trust you to be real. And I can trust you to keep this within our friendship, within this tight circle, but I can start sharing some things with you now as well. And you're going to deepen better friendships. You're going to deepen really the ability for someone to say, okay, I can kind of walk with you in this, and I can also help you in these places, because there might be some negative realities. And here's one of the last things that maybe I'll say, at least in this part, is that negative realities, we've got to have some awareness, because at the end of the day, there's some negative realities that maybe we keep swimming in those waters, and we find ourselves continually going back to those negative realities. I'm just going to throw one out that I've dealt with as well, and that's shame. So sometimes, like with shame, we allow a shame cloud, kind of a dark, gloomy cloud, to loom over us every single day, because we start to believe that that's our identity. We start to believe that we are the mess or the mistake or who we've hurt or what's been done to us. We start believing that negative reality, and we start saying, like, that's my identity. And that's not your identity. That's not your identity. Yes, it's been done to you, or you've done it to somebody else, but it doesn't define you. It's not meant to define you. So I think I share all that, and I have the one example of shame, but we've got to be aware. And that's when friends that we know in this inner circle, my friends can help me say, hey, Mark, you've got some consistencies to continually go kind of swim in your vomit of this negative reality, and let me help you avoid that. Let's talk about you not going to that and gravitating towards that, because it's the opposite of you getting 1% better. It's actually hurting you.
Wow. So good. Yeah, we can just end there, folks. God bless and have a great...
Well, we still have some time, but thank you.
That's solid. Yeah, I like that. I didn't know you would say all that. That's great. I didn't know what you're going to say anytime we do the show, but I'm literally like, I'll just keep letting you talk. You can keep going. No, I love that. I actually had something, and as I was listening to you, I was trying to get my thought process, and then I lost it. So I'm actually trying to figure out what I was going to say, because I did have something that I wanted to add to that. But if it comes back, it comes back. But yeah, the friends thing is so crucial. And again, as we get older, like they get less and less, I feel, especially like I have a lot of like single friends, because I'm only 25, right? So I have some married friends and a lot of single, and they're like, I don't know where I'm going to meet my spouse. Like, and I got people freaking out almost, because they're like, I'm such and such age. Where are we? So it gets less and less. So I think hold on to who you have, because like Mark said, it can be so beneficial to us. One thing I will say, as we have a little bit of time left, is that you may know, it depends on how long you've been with us of 1% Better Show, but we like to bring faith a lot into this because we are Christians, we love Jesus, and we want you to be able to know a little bit more about Jesus just by listening to this show or watching this show. Whether you're considering Jesus, whether you don't want anything to do with Jesus, or you follow Jesus, we want all three to be listening and watching. And so I will give some of this because I feel like if we don't bring up faith at least once in the show, we do you a disservice. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. That's just our opinion. And so with that, very quickly, I won't preach a sermon, won't give you Bible passages and all this stuff. But I think with what you're saying about going to friends, and I think sometimes if we even acknowledge that there is a God, like I don't care if you don't believe, you just acknowledge a higher power, acknowledge a God, you can feel like that God, that thing, whatever you want to identify that thing of, is too great to bring your problems to. So you'll hide it and hope that higher being won't know, or that God won't, because if he really knew, there's no way I'd make it to heaven, or there's no way he'd love me, or there's no, right, whatever it might be. That's so normal. Even as a Christian, I have felt that, and I know God, right? And so I think he spoke on friends, and that's valuable, and that's do it. But God's not a human, right? Jesus came to earth in a human body, died and rose again, but he was fully man and fully God. That you may not understand that, even we don't really understand, but that's one of the things that makes him God. It's so good, is that he can be both. But God doesn't have the same thoughts that we have, and he doesn't do things the way we do things. And so I think it's important to come to God, learn how to pray. Maybe you just have to be a full sentence. There is a passage in the book of Luke in the Bible that literally Jesus is saying how there was a man who didn't know how to pray, and he basically just threw up some words. He said, "God, I'm a sinner, forgive me." It was like a horrible, like, that's not a prayer. No, it was. He didn't know what he was doing. He just kind of said, "I acknowledge that I did some wrong. Please forgive me if you're there." And God was like, "Yes, that's what I'm after. Just talk to me." So I think don't hide things from people, and certainly don't hide things from God.
That's really good. I think that's beautiful. I think at the end of the day as well, to just add one more layer on top of that, one of the things that really in this conversation, being real, being open with your emotions, positive, negative, being able to be authentic and express those negative realities and emotions with people that you trust, to have this expression, to be able to express and hang out and talk to God is so beautiful. And I love one of the reasons why in this conversation, for sure, I love that Jesus came to earth to become a man. And I love that because Jesus understands what you and I both have gone through and are going through. So like, he understands rejection, even from his own family. He understands what it's like for people to hurl insults and just be totally against him and what he said, and feel like just the world's against me, or the city's against me, or whatever it is. Like, he's experienced hunger. He's experienced like all of these like disappointments. He's experienced all of that. And that is so comforting, and it should be to us, because at the end of the day, what is so incredible about that, I think, is that the Bible says that we have a high priest, that would be Jesus, and Jesus being this high priest, that goes on to say that we can come and he can empathize with us. He can sympathize with you. He gets us. He gets you and I. So we can come to him with our negative realities. We can come to him with our raw emotions and just share with him. He gets us. He gets you and I. And I love that. And there's so much joy and peace in that. Thank you again for tuning in and taking this journey with us. Our desire is that you would take a little moment from this show and you would apply it practically to your life. And you would take that into a rhythm of your life for this new week and going forward so that you can get 1% better. Have an amazing day. You can connect with us at 1%bettershow.com. We'd love to connect with you and hear from you real soon. Take care.
You're playing with my 1%. You're playing with my 1%. You're playing with my 1%.